Welcome to Caregiver Cast with Mary Elaine. Are you overwhelmed raising a family, working full-time, caring for a parent or grandparent? It can be challenging when you're doing it alone. Caregiver Cast helps busy, burned-out professionals reduce their stress and overwhelm to create a better caregiving experience for themselves and their loved one. Caregiver Cast brings caregivers together with experts who provide information in a variety of areas. In each episode, you'll get tips on topics such as finance, legal, medical, self-care, community resources, mindset, and more. We're here to make your caregiving journey a more rewarding one. Acquire the confidence and skills to be a more capable caregiver by implementing the resources and strategies from these expert thought leaders. Get a community of support, resources, and strategies for your caregiving journey inside the Caregiver Lifeline community. Visit caregiverlifelinecommunity.com. And now here's your host, Mary Elaine.
Hi, welcome to Caregiver Cast. I'm Mary Elaine, your host. My special guest today is Nancy White, who will be talking to us about the meaning of self-care and what that really is all about. And self-care is just so important for caregivers. So Nancy is going to give us all the tips and tricks that we need for self-care. Before I formally introduce Nancy, I'm just going to give you some background information about her. Nancy White wants to live in a world where other people will thrive and not just survive, both physically and financially. In her business, she assists health-conscious adults in creating healthy lifestyles they can tweak as they age and provides resources and connections to help businesses scale and add additional income streams. Nancy started her entrepreneurial journey 38 years ago after leaving corporate America. Since that time, she has started several businesses. Some flopped, some sold, and some blossomed, but learning has never stopped. A natural gift for Nancy is connecting people, especially for business. She served as the foundation leader for eWomen Network from 2006 to 2020, established the first HeartLink network for women in Charlotte in 2008, and is part of other chambers and networking groups. She was once referred as the most connected person in Charlotte. Totally believe that. Her first book, GRT Journal, which stands for Gratitude, Reflections, and Tips, is an Amazon bestseller. Her second book is a collaboration of entrepreneurs, Light at the End of the Funnel, Volume 2. Is an international Amazon bestseller, and a third collaborative book, Radical Self-Love, released in May of 2020, and her fourth collaborative book, Making Peace with Your Pieces, releasing in 2023. I love the title. She has been cultivating her Healthy Self Chick business since 2007. Currently, she's the co-host of the North South Carolina Happy Neighborhood Networking. And Nancy has a weekly TV show, The Healthy Self Chick, on Win-Win Women TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Welcome, Nancy, to Caregiver Cast. How are you?
Oh, Mary, I'm doing fantastic. And thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your amazing program.
Well, thank you. After our initial conversation, I knew that you would be a highlight of being a guest speaker on my podcast. So thank you for doing that for us. So define self-care for us, Nancy. Why is that important?
Well, a lot of times, Mary, people think of self-care as just, I'm just making it. I'm just getting up. I'm doing what I need to do, the bare minimums, and getting by. But to me, really, self-care really involves, especially women, just stopping just for a few minutes and just doing that self-evaluation, going, I'm very believe that our health is mind, body, and spirit, and we need to nurture all three areas every single day, Mary. And
Right.
so, but just stopping, I think, and doing that overall assessment and just going, I'm going to celebrate the good things I'm doing. Yes, because many people don't celebrate the good things we do. We just keep on going. To celebrate the good things that we are doing, and then decide what areas that we need to have tweaked or enhanced a little bit. Self-care, it is. I mean, it is taking care of ourselves, but we're going to talk a little bit later too about how self-care can involve others being able to sew into us. But pretty much, I think self-care is being aware, especially of what we are doing, how we're treating these temporary temples, and just coming up with some great ideas and strategies. We're always planning for everybody else, Mary, but do we really plan for ourselves?
No,
Mm,
we don't. And especially as a caregiver,
yes.
the very last thing if we even think about it at all. So thank you for your definition. So why is self-care just important as caring for someone else? Why is that so important?
Well, we have such a heart, when we're doing and taking care of somebody else, because people get into a state of being where they are not being able to take care of their own self-care by themselves anymore. And
Mhm.
so when we are putting our self-care first, that helps us to become strong and stable, to be able to do a better job of taking care of somebody else and not get burned out of taking care of somebody else. When we're taking care of ourselves, we become better equipped to be able to serve others and to help them, especially with caregiving. And I
Mhm.
will tell you, again, like you and I've talked before, it is that mind and that body and that spirit. And there's times that we're around some people that may be negative, and
Mhm.
we feel like we're always like a trash can that's been opened up and being dumped in, dumped in, dumped in. Well, part
Mhm.
of self-care is being able to release all that. And I had a little friend, in fact, I'll have to show it to you. She told me years ago, she said, you just need to be like this little duck. She said, you just need to let things just sort of roll off your back and just flick them off your tail. And so
Mm.
there's times when we have to be able to release, but really pretty much that self-care really equips us to become strong and healthier, be able to
Mm.
serve without going through burnout.
Thank you so much. Uh, I know sometimes for me, when I was doing caregiving for my mother or my father, yeah, you worry about them so much that even if you're not really providing direct care, you still worry about them and want to make sure that their needs are met. So sometimes I found I wasn't taking really good care of myself in those situations. So thank you for that great advice. So give us an idea of how stress and anxiety affect our self-care.
When we are under stress and anxiety, we really have a clouded view of a lot of reality of what's
Mhm.
going on, because we're not only combating what is we're taking care of, especially when we're caregiving, but it
Mhm.
also adds another whole layer of sometimes confusion, not seeing well, not hearing well, not doing those things. So when we learn those practical ways to release the anxiety, to go to do some healthy things to counterbalance stress.
Mhm.
Stress manages us, or we manage it, and so we have to learn those healthy ways to manage anxiety and stress. It does not mean that we're not ever going to go through it. We just get to choose how long we either stay bent out of shape or how long we're going to let it go, release it, to be able to do the best that we can do. So again, it's always going to be around, but we get to learn some great ways to be able to counterbalance and combat that.
Great. So now tell us, can you give us some tips about how to reduce that stress and anxiety? I know you mentioned letting it go. Sometimes that's easier said than done. So what else can you recommend caregivers do when they're really stressed out and having a lot of anxiety caring for someone?
I know, and I should have brought my stop sign because I love using my stop sign. But I think one of the first things, again, we need to do is just stop for a moment
Mm,
and just breathe, just, get centered again. And we talk to ourselves, Mary, all the time anyways. So we
mhm.
just need to ask ourselves going, is this something I have control over? Yes or no? And if it's no, then we have to learn, again, like you were talking about, healthy ways to release it, to let it go. Sometimes I've got different things I'll share with you in just a minute about how to do that sometimes, especially those reoccurring things that keep coming back. And then we have to say, if it's something we are responsible for and we do have control over, do I need to have any help with this? Women have a hard time asking for help or assistance. And if it's something we need to have some help or whatever, we need to ask, accept it, and do it and utilize
Okay.
it. So going back to letting go and releasing, one of the techniques I have taught over the years it's a rock. It sounds funny, but it's just a little smooth rock. And so you can get a little smooth rock and you can just, name whatever it is. Like if it's unforgiveness, if it's somebody that's been a jerk or whatever it is, name it and just put that in your hand and just squeeze it until you can't hold it any longer, Mary. And then you turn your hand over and you let it go. And when you let it go, you feel that release. And then I believe you turn your hand right back over. And I asked the Lord to refill and just replace whatever that was. Another way is go to the dollar store and get a Mylar balloon, a plain one. You take it home. This is great for children too. And you can write all over it, all the things that keep coming up to you that you just keeps nagging at you and just bugging you, whatever. Write all over it. And then you take it outside. Don't stand under a tree, but you take it outside and you let it go and you watch it. You can't see it anymore. And then when that old enemy and that little mind chatter keeps coming back and, trying to accuse you, you go, you know what? I let it go. You go find it. And so
Wow.
the other thing too, you can write letters. And even if somebody is not here any longer and they have hurt you, they've gone through some things, you can write all that stuff out and you can just, burn it, mail it, whatever you want to do to it. But, that's when we get those things out of us, we're releasing, but then you always have to receive something to fill in that gap.
Okay. Wow. I love that rock analogy.
I know.
And that Mylar balloon, that is amazing. Just to write down everything. Or like you said, and just let it go, fly away, or burn it, write it down and burn it. Fantastic ways to get us back centered. So thank you. What else or who else should be part of our self-care?
Well, a couple of other things that I think, we talked at the very beginning about celebrating the good things that you do. Women, we get things done and we're off to the next thing. And I'm sitting there going, stop a minute again, celebrate, pat yourself on the back, go take a bubble bath with some beautiful essential oils and Epsom salts, a candle, put on some music. We got to bathe anyway, so you might as well make it nice. And so it's fun
Great
just
idea.
to be able to relax and to do those things. Do something kind for yourself. Another thing too, when, again, we were talking about anxiety and things that come up, pick up the phone, text somebody, reach out to somebody else for a deed of kindness. Send a message going, you came across my heart today, and I just wanted to just tell you that how much you mean to me. If it's a family member, I love you and I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. If it's somebody that's just is alone or whatever, just send them a little fun message. Send them something that can make them laugh. Laughter is such huge medicine and it's so healing. So I think doing some things that are good for ourselves is, again, not selfish. That's part of our self-care. And, I enjoy exercising. I like holy yoga. I like different things. I like a variety because, it's 70. You either move it or lose it. So you're going to have to continually be part of that healthy lifestyle. So
Mhm.
do some fun things for you. Try something different. And a fun little tip too, Mary, is that people that dance, and you can dance by yourself, doesn't matter. Dance like nobody's watching. But people that dance are 70% less likely to have dementia. So you keep those feet moving. And so that's a
Wow.
fun thing to do. Okay, so now going back to your question about other people, sometimes it's like we were talking about when we've asked ourselves, is this something I have control over? Yes or no? And if it keeps coming back and the things, sometimes we can ask for some counseling, some help. It's
Mm,
not a sign of weakness. We all go through depression, anxiety, anger. We all go through all those emotions. We all get tired and worn out. And those are signs that it's time just to stop. It's time to regroup and refresh and renew. But we
mm,
can ask for help. And I'm not talking about gossiping help. I'm not talking about calling every one of your girlfriends and telling her the exact same thing, blah, 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 blah. You're complaining, but you're not going to do anything about it. So,
mm,
there's a difference between asking for some help, getting some guidance, going to your doctor for your checkups, the things that we're
mhm,
responsible for. But I think, asking for input. Since I'm so much in natural wellness and natural care, I do
mhm.
work with a lot of cancer thrivers and a lot of people that have gone through some challenges. And sometimes they're on a lot of medications. I tell them, say, get in touch with your pharmacist before you take any natural supplements or anything else and ask if there could be a possible interaction.
Mhm.
That's asking for help. And so
Yes.
there's
Okay.
lots of resources, Mary, that we can tap into, but we have to ask.
Wow. Okay. I think you said it all, Nancy. Several things. Most or many caregivers don't take care of their physical needs when they're caregiving. And it's frightening to me to think that 30% of caregivers will die before the one that they're caring for,
It's sad.
which is really heartbreaking to me because those conditions could have been caught earlier, or the caregiver could have done like those yearly physicals and mental and physical wellness checks beforehand. And I think it's really hard for caregivers to ask. And I think to ask for help. And I think part of it, I know from myself, it's hard to ask somebody for help when they have no idea of what you're doing as a caregiver or what you're going through. And so many people lose friends and things like that because they don't know how to help.
Mhm.
And then it makes it more of a challenge for the caregiver then to turn around and ask for help from someone when they have removed themselves from a relationship just because they don't know how to help or to let the caregiver know. So I think it's a two-way street. The caregiver definitely has to ask for help and get the support because they can't do it alone.
That's true. And you mentioned something about, you get so tied up and that your own social connections, sort of
Mhm.
suffer sometimes. But, even staying in touch a little bit, going, during this season of life, Mary, I'm taking care of my mom. And I want you to know that I really value our friendship. But at this time, I appreciate your prayers, your support, your encouragement. And I want to make sure that our relationship stays intact. But during this season of life, my time and my priorities are a little bit different. And I think letting people know that instead of just becoming MIA and just,
Mm,
disappearing, I
right.
think communication is huge, Mary,
Yes.
in so many areas.
No, I think that's a great uh, statement that you made, because I think you're right. We do become MIA because we're just so focused on taking care of someone and their needs 24/7 that to reach out seems like a huge obstacle. However, I think you're right. It's good for the caregiver's mental health to let people know, and even let their friends know that maybe if they dropped in every now and then or called, something that would still help that friendship
Mhm.
and keep it more intact, I think would help as well.
I agree. It's just like having an accountability partner, like even in your business or whatever. You can have an accountability friend and just say, whether it's on the 1st and the 15th or whatever, put it on our calendars. Let's just check in and see how things are going. If there's, anything new, because like we talked about a few minutes ago, reaching out to somebody else for that deed of kindness gets the focus off of us.
You're right, it does. And I think it's so easy not to reach out because you're just trying to keep like all of that energy within yourself, just to get up in the morning and to make sure that that person that you're caring for has everything that they need. So yes, definitely. So Nancy, can you give our caregivers 3 tips from what we discussed today, to help them in their caregiving journey?
Absolutely. The first thing again is just to stop for a moment. And I would encourage you to just do the old Ben Franklin, get a piece of paper, write down, the pros and the cons of things that you're doing, the things that are serving you, the things that are not. And when we write those things down too, Mary, it's in front of us and that's the reality. But just stopping for a moment and just doing an assessment for yourself, going, what area of my life, am I not being a good steward of or taking care of? And so just stopping for a few minutes, and then don't beat yourself up. Celebrate the good things that you are doing. I mean, you got up today. Yay, you're still here. Yay. Celebrate the good things. First and foremost, don't look at the negative, because we know that it takes 7 positives to overcome every one negative we either speak to ourselves or that we hear. So just like that old thing says, just stop it. So anyways, but again, just, doing that assessment and then make a plan that's good for you. Everybody is different. Making sure you've got that great nutrition coming in, your supplements. Yes, your supplements, because we have to keep our immune system built up. We have to keep our brain functioning at a top level. And there's some great things that we can do naturally to do that. Don't wait till somebody says, oh, you've got this challenge or this problem. It costs a lot less to be preventative than have to be reactive. So make your own plan, your healthy lifestyle. If you need help, I will be happy to share some tips and guidelines for you. The other third thing to do is make sure you are resting peacefully and at nighttime, because that's your recovery time. And if you're not sleeping peacefully, if you cannot get that mind to shut down or whatever to stop, again, get in touch with me and I'll be more than happy to give you some guidelines and some tips. So again, stopping, celebrating the good things that you're doing and assessing. The second is making sure you've got that great jet fuel, that nutrition in your body and keeping your body built up, especially your immune system. And then the third is making sure that you are sleeping and recovering, because when you're doing that, then your body is going to continually to get strong and healthier. We get new bodies every 6 to 8 years, so we might as well make a new good one.
Great advice. So let me just reiterate. So stopping and really looking at what we're doing, celebrating things that we should be very grateful for, like you said, having another day to serve, assessing that as well, and getting all of the proper nourishment and supplements that we need. And third, we do need to sleep. And that's the only way that we can really be our best. So if people wanted to get in touch with you, Nancy, how would they do that?
The easiest way is to go to my website. It's just The Healthy Cells, and it's CELLS, chick, CHICK.com, thehealthysellschick.com. And you'd mentioned something about, for people to be able to have on there's a couple of quizzes. There's self-check quizzes. One is for your health, one is for your stress assessment. So you can go through those 2 quizzes and just help you to determine, to see where you stand. And there's also some healthy suggestions that correlate with those questions.
Thank you so much for those offerings. I really appreciate that. And everyone listening, I would like you to reach out to Nancy. She is really amazing, and she can help you with your health, your stress, your nutrition, just so that you can be your best self when you're caregiving. Nancy, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate your wisdom and everything that you shared with our audience today.
Thank you so much, Mary. And I encourage every one of the caregivers that someday it's going to come back. Someday someone will be helping you and caring for you in your senior years and your mature years. And so everything that you're sowing into, you will be reaping the harvest, and you'll be reaping the benefits one day.
That's very profound. Thank you for that advice. Yes, we should be grateful for what we have and be grateful that we can serve someone else, so that in the future, if we need the help, we will have it. So thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Caregiver Cast today. Get a community of support, resources, and strategies for your caregiving journey inside the Caregiver Lifeline community. Visit caregiverlifelinecommunity.com. Get involved with the show. Send your email to mpetrusi2002@gmail.com. And we'll see you again next week for another episode of Caregiver Cast.